Our featured speaker is the #1 best-selling author of 2 books, Change, How to Rewire Your Mind, and the smash hit, How to Combat Autoimmune Disease and Win. Please welcome Christy Mattoon.
$300. I'm looking down between my feet and I see this little needle bouncing back and forth. And I couldn't believe it stopped on 300. I was 300 pounds? How does this happen? What did I do to myself? I couldn't believe it. And I was angry. And I was kind of disgusted. And I was really confused. You see, this wasn't my life. I had a good husband. I had a beautiful home. I had 2 great kids. None of this made any sense to me. And so as I watched this happening, I didn't know what to do. At the same time, a good friend of ours was dying of cancer, and we watched as they kept taking pieces of his leg off and chased cancer up his body into his lungs. And when Pete died, I knew that I had to do something to change. Death became real, and life became precious. And so I started really searching. I started trying to figure out what was going on inside of my body, inside of my mind, inside of my life. And what I found out, because of a trainer that I worked with for a number of years who helped me lose some of the weight, as he handed me a card and told me to go see a therapist. When I walked into that therapist's office, he looked at me and he said, "Tell me about your childhood." And I remember sitting there thinking, I don't know my childhood. I had no idea what he was talking about. I sat there trying to remember something, and all I got was a big black hole. That's all I could see. And I told him, I said, I don't know my childhood. I don't remember any of it. Why does it matter? It can't possibly matter. I don't think about it. Who cares? And he looked at me and he goes, "That's a red flag." We never talked about it again. He never brought it back up. In fact, he sent me to another doctor that put me on Depakote and told me I was bipolar. But whatever it was that happened in my childhood, that thing is what was making me so sick. I had symptom after symptom and disease title after disease title stacking up. Hashimoto's, diabetes, high cholesterol, cancer. I even killed a bone in my foot. And nobody could figure it out. They gave me medications and more medications, and my confusion turned to chaos. My life was out of control and it was crazy. Now let me back you up a little bit. I was a pastry chef for 23 years. I loved my job. I was great at my job. I was at a really high-end country club in Denver, Colorado, and we did awesome things for amazing people. And if you look down one side of my kitchen, there was ovens, and you can smell the cookies and all the good stuff coming out of those ovens. And the favorite part of my day was when somebody would walk into that kitchen and ask me if they could have a hot cookie or a roll or a piece of bread. I loved that stuff. And on the other side of this kitchen was this huge mixer and then rows of ingredients. And the 2 main ingredients that I used were sugar and flour. Pretty much everything I made. Turns out sugar and flour in my system were like putting gasoline on a huge fire, and it just kept erupting and erupting. And the symptoms would go crazy. And I never got it. It was like I was allergic to my job. When I finally figured it out, I remember walking into my chef's office, the executive chef, one day. I walked in and I sat down in front of this man. And I said, "I'm really struggling." And he looks at me and he goes, "I know. I am too." I was like, "No, you don't get it. I just came out of a psychiatric office. And this dude told me I was bipolar and put me on medication. Like, I'm really not doing well." David goes, "Yeah." Me too. Oh. So when I finally got it, I wasn't the only person that wasn't struggling the way I was struggling. And what I figured out, what I do for people now, is that it's not the symptoms. It wasn't even the diseases. There was something else going on. And so what I help people do now is I help them structure their thinking to beat subconscious stress. My issue wasn't the symptom. My issue wasn't the disease. It was the subconscious stress that came from a childhood I knew nothing about. It was like a constant drip of cortisol and adrenaline in my system that over a lifetime wrecked my body out and caused inflammation site-wide and then kept tearing my body apart. So I help people structure their thinking to things that default to ideas, concepts, and emotions that actually will benefit and help you heal. It'll change your life in a heartbeat. And it's a beautiful, different way to live your life when you realize that at the end of the day, life shouldn't be this hard. Thank you.
All right.